Welcome to a live episode of the Play-by-Play, a sports media talk show brought to you by Awful Announcing, where we are finally taking a break from talking about Pat McAfee and Donald Trump to hold our second annual NFL announcers draft. This was Brendon's idea. I think it might have been your idea initially. It was definitely your idea to bring it back this week. And when you suggested it, my first thought was, we just did that. And then I looked back and it was October 11th, 2024 when we held the first one. So we are way overdue for this exercise. This was the original crew. We held it with myself, Brendon, and Drew a year ago. Really enjoyed it. I think not only is it a fun exercise, but even looking back at what we did a year ago, it really becomes I think a time capsule. You can see this was our draft a year ago. I famously and controversially took Tom Brady first overall. I not as indefensible as some of these other. I'd argue my second and third round picks, Jason Kelce and Ryan Clark, maybe look even worse now in retrospect than taking Tom Brady one of one. We didn't select Troy Aikman anywhere on this list.
Yeah, did we just forget that Aikman existed last year? What happened? I didn't go back and listen to the full episode, but we all like him. We talk about him constantly on this exact podcast, and yet 30 people got picked, and it's like we didn't even know Troy Aikman existed.
Yeah, I think I'm not really entirely. It definitely was an oversight. It's just a matter of I can't remember why it happened. I think that I don't know if our lists were full already, what exactly happened there. But yeah, it's definitely one of our bigger omissions. So the format for this thing is we each pick two play-by-play announcers. We each pick two game analysts. We each pick two studio analysts. We each pick one host. We each pick one reporter, which can either be a sideline reporter or an insider. We kind of are giving ourselves some freedom with that. And then we're also giving ourselves even more freedom with a wild card. My wild card last year was Travis Kelce. You can kind of just go off the board, really a free pick. So 9 rounds total. In terms of the draft order, we are going to go Drew first, Brendon second, and myself third. Did we do snake order last year? I can't even remember whether we did snake order.
I think we snaked it. Yeah,
we did.
All right, so we'll do snake order. So me and Drew will each get some bookend picks here. So I figure this one might go longer than our traditional play-by-play episode. So Drew, why don't you kick things off with the first pick?
Thank you, Ben. I'm actually not going to stray from my first pick last year. That's probably one of the only parts of my draft that I was happy about looking back on a year ago. And I'm going to select Mike Tirico with the first overall pick. I think he is the far and away best play-by-play announcer. If you look at all the lead play-by-play guys right now, I think he's a step above. Brendon and I talked about him a couple weeks ago about his NBA debut. I think his ability to just process information and convey that information to the viewer in real time is unmatched. I just think he's such a professional. All of his broadcasts are very clean. I'm never left wondering what is happening in the game. So yeah, Tirico, 1-1.
Okay. I know Brady. Brady was going to be next, right, Drew?
Right. Yeah. I think the analyst bench is a little deeper than the play-by-play bench, I have to say.
Okay. Yeah. Ben, you said that your Brady thing was controversial. I don't even think it was. I just think it was bad. I don't know if anyone was arguing the other side of that except for you. I think it was just panned would be my descriptor for that. Okay. So it's my turn. I'm going, I don't want to go chalk. I don't want to keep going chalk here. But I also feel like this guy's going to definitely be gone. So I'm going to go with Greg Olsen, who was also my first round pick last year. I think he continues to be the best game analyst on television. I think that his willingness to nerd out and go deep on his podcast appearances makes him stay in the conversation and be very interesting as well. He can make bad games fun. He rises to the occasion of good games. He's been flexible with different broadcast partners between Kevin Burkhardt and now Joe Davis, who are both very good, but still, chemistry-wise, tough to adjust, and he hasn't missed a beat. If I'm a network executive, if that's kind of the exercise, then I also got Greg Olsen for like 30 years. So I like that as well.
I think these are both strong picks. I think like if you were to do a mock draft of this would be like Tirico and Olsen would be first rounders. I feel more strongly about Brendon's because I think Greg is considered pretty unanimously the top analyst. Tirico, I don't feel as strongly about, but I don't think he's crazy as a first round pick. But I also am the guy who took Tom Brady one a year ago.
How are we calling Olsen unanimously a top analyst if he's not even on a number one team? I mean,
because Fox doesn't.
Well, is that a shot at me? It's because of Tom Brady. It's because there's only one person like who could supplant him. Although I'll get to my pick here because I'm going with the same strategy as Tom Brady, but I think it's a stronger pick. I'm going to take JJ Watt. I think my whole strategy with Brady is you just don't get that kind of fame in the booth. You don't typically get Hall of Fame credentials in the booth. And if you can have that, like you take it. It's like, I think Fox is totally justified in having Tom Brady ahead of Greg Olsen, even though we all agree that Greg Olsen is the better analyst. I think there is a level to fame of all of this. JJ Watt is really, really famous. He has Hall of Fame credentials. He's going to be in the Hall of Fame as soon as he's eligible. And he's pretty good at this. I don't think he's as good as Greg Olsen. I don't know if he can be as good as Greg Olsen, but I think when you factor in the credentials, when you factor in that he has shown he is pretty good at this, like, I think that's a very rare match. And so I'm going to take that with my first round pick and run with it. What do you guys think?
Let me be clear. My only pushback was that I don't think you can consider him a consensus top analyst or best analyst in football if you're not on a number one team. Like I do agree with you that he's better than Brady.
The other people that somebody might argue over Olsen isn't Brady. So like it's just, yeah, he's not the number one, but like the reasons are not about quality. So I got to defend my guy. I have gotten him back-to-back years. You didn't even have to face the grilling on Tirico, Drew. So
I know. Well, I do love the Watt pick. So okay. I guess I'm not very consistent there.
I think he's been a breath of fresh air. I think it's cool to have a defensive guy. I think it's always fun when somebody is so recently retired. I think that Watt and Ian Eagle are like a match made in heaven in terms of their just sense of humor, lightness. They both have that. They both want to take the broadcast in that direction, and I think that they fit really well doing that. So yeah, my only nitpick on Watt is like you watch him on the Pat McAfee show, and he's so careful. He's so cautious. He like doesn't want to hurt anybody's feelings, which is the exact opposite of the tone of that show. So maybe he's kind of doing it on purpose to like be the counter to Pat's, craziness. But, Watt's going to have to lay it on from time to time. If somebody's laying an egg, he's got to say so.
Yeah. Unless he's talking about PFF, then he has no issue letting a little loose. All right. I got my second pick. This is who I initially thought I was going to take with my first pick. And when I look back at last year's draft, this is who I wish I would have taken. I'm going to take Joe Buck. I'm just a Joe Buck guy. Joe Buck to me, I think he's the best play-by-play guy. He's at least my favorite play-by-play guy. I think, I'm sure somebody who will come up in this draft eventually is Joe Davis. It's like, to me, Joe Buck, like you have that relationship with an announcer over the course of 25, 30 years, and they're a prodigy. And then they reach this point of like actualization in terms of the peak of their powers. I feel like Joe Buck is there. So I'm a big Joe Buck fan. If I can come out of this with JJ Watt and Joe Buck as my top booth, I will gladly take it. So that's my pick.
That would be a fun booth if it was actually real. I think Buck's like the one other guy who kind of has that silliness that he can tap into from time to time, even though he, is also kind of an old fashioned guy as well. Yeah, you stole Buck from me. I had him last year, so I have to pivot. I'm now behind the eight ball on play-by-play guys here, so I need to go in that direction, and I think I will take Ian Eagle. who did not get selected last year in our draft,
Wow.
which is pretty crazy to think. I had Buck and Nance last year, so I'm going off the board to take Eagle. I just think, again, like, I think that Watt has kind of brought the best out of him, and I feel like Ian Eagle to me is, you know, it won't be long before he probably is calling Thursday Night Football. He is one of the iconic announcers of this generation, and I think he just brings like an intensity and a seriousness, like, with the moment. I obviously said he has that sense of humor that we all know and love, but when Ian Eagle's on a game, it feels big. That's what you say about all the best announcers, so I'm going with him. Who do you got, Drew?
Well, that was going to be my pick. I really wanted the Tirico Eagle combo and to really just like have by far the best play-by-play guys in this draft. So good pick there, Brendon. So I'm actually going to pivot, and I'm going to keep the NBC booth together. You guys have heard me talk about how much I like the NBC Sunday Night Football booth, probably more than anyone would like to hear about on any podcast. So Chris Collinsworth is going to be my pick. Aside from the PFF junk that we've talked about and, the self-promotion aspect there, I think he's just like a really solid game analyst. I know people can kind of criticize him for his weird noises. I guess he's not the only game analyst that does that. But I just like how he really simplifies the game for the viewer. He's able to pick out one part of a play, break it down. Every time I watch Sunday Night Football, I feel like I'm learning something. And I never want to like turn the volume down when Chris Collinsworth is talking. So to me, that's like the sign of a good game analyst. And I'm going to keep him together with Tirico because they have good chemistry. So that's my pick there. And then,
You do have to keep the PFF scores.
Yeah. I guess
they have to be part of the introduction. So that's like a 5% knock on every game you're going to air on your imaginary network here. And you got Ben's number one analyst coming at your throat every time that he has to watch one of your games.
That's true. Yeah, pretty contentious between Team Drew and Team Ben so far. And my second pick, I'm actually going to stick in the analyst category and pick Troy Aikman. For a lot of the similar reasons. I think Aikman is just kind of a breath of fresh air in terms of his willingness to, speak the truth during an NFL game. I think he's willing to call out the refs. He's willing to call out bad play. He's kind of the counterbalance to Collinsworth in a lot of ways, where Collinsworth is a bit effusive when it comes to how he analyzes players. Aikman, on the other hand, is willing to tear them down a little bit, bring them back down to earth. So I think it's a good balance to have both of them. And I have to say, out of the analysts left on the board, I think he's the clear-cut best one. So Aikman is my next pick.
I think these two guys are interesting to talk about real quick together. They're the two most experienced. They used to call games actually in the same booth early on in Aikman's career. We're talking on the day that Front Office Sports' Ryan Glasspiegel released a Q&A with Aikman, where I was just writing it up for Awful Announcing, and Aikman had a comment in there about how he doesn't perceive himself to be negative, but he does see himself as kind of, like you're saying, Drew, that counterbalance to the effusiveness that so many other analysts have. And he didn't say Chris Collinsworth's name, but my brain injected Chris Collinsworth into that comment. And I think, like, to me, Aikman's far and away above Collinsworth. Maybe it's because I'm a more cynical person or whatever. It might just be my taste. But, like, I don't know. The Collinsworth noises and the gesticulations kind of get the attention. But to me, that's always been the thing about him that knocks him down to me, is like everything's the best and the top and the most historically great on every single Sunday night. And I don't know, like, that just gets old. I don't know. I'm not trying to like attack Chris Collinsworth, but I think that
I think it's endearing.
What do you think? It's endearing. Okay.
I would take the other side of that too, in terms of Aikman, as somebody who roots for a bad football team. The Browns, for some reason, were on Monday Night Football last year, and Aikman was just ripping the organization, ripping the Deshaun Watson trade. And it was exactly what I wanted to hear as a fan. It's like, hey, the fans clearly aren't getting through to ownership. Maybe Troy Aikman will. Like, we've seen that happen before in sports where that sort of spotlight, obviously nothing changed, but like that is the sort of stuff. If you are a fan of a bad team or a team that's struggling, you do kind of like to hear an expert or an analyst lend a voice to that in the booth. So I'm pro Aikman.
Yeah, I like it. Drew got both. So, like you said, they fire and ice, so to speak.
Big run on analysts right now.
Yeah. And I am, I'm falling now. I have Olsen and Eagle. That's all I have. Right. So, oof. Okay. I really don't want to go chalk from last year again, but I think that I have to because I am a defender of this man, and that's Tony Romo. I think that Tony Romo is still good. I watched the game last weekend. I watched the Chiefs-Bills game. I think that he is still just solid. I think that he does a good job. Maybe the thing about him that I would highlight compared to Collinsworth and Aikman, because I think the game analysts are like really why everybody's here. I think that's like the juiciest part of the draft. So I'm glad we're sticking here for a second. Like, to me, Romo is better at keeping the game. Like, I feel like when it's those two guys, when it's Nance and Romo, all that kind of matters is what's going on the field in that moment. And Romo's really good at just kind of like taking you into, I think Olsen's good at that too, right? Like, there is some narrative, there is some other stuff. NBA games feel like a podcast. Like, that's the poll. That's one poll where it's just like everybody giving their general opinions. Whereas I feel like, Romo does a really good job of just telling you what's going on and making a story out of the 60 minutes that you're watching rather than trying to weave this whole big grand thing together. So, again, he yells weird stuff. He has a strange sense of humor that he doesn't know when to turn off, but all that aside, I like him. So I'm going with Romo.
I think Romo's almost like a second tier quarterback in the NFL. Like, he's kind of obviously not like Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson or Patrick. Like, he's like that Baker Mayfield level where, like, when he's good, he's really good, and you want to pay him $40 million. I mean, at this point, $60 million a year, and like lock him in, and he's the future, and you don't have to worry about it. And when he's bad, it's like, all right, do we have to replace him with JJ Watt? Like, what? Like,
so basically the same exact thing we said about him when he was playing.
Exactly. It's like, okay, like maybe he will predict this amazing play, or maybe he'll trample over the game-winning play in the Super Bowl. Like, it could be either or. So it's like, but hey, like, a lot of teams would sign up for Sam Darnold right now. A lot of teams would sign up for Baker Mayfield right now. So I don't have any qualms with it, but yeah. All right. I got back-to-back picks
to you. Yep.
All right. So, like, looking at who I like a lot of the studio hosts. I like a lot of the studio analysts. I like some of the wild cards. I like all those better, but clearly we're on a run here where we're just putting together our booths. So I'm just going to stick with that because I don't want to get left holding the bag. So I'm going to follow Brendon's lead. I'm going to take Jim Nance here. To me, just kind of the same thing. Big game. I've got Jim Nance and Joe Buck as my 1 and 2 play-by-play guys. Like, I'm not a massive Jim Nance fan, but he's very professional, a lot of credibility, a lot of history to him, called Super Bowls, several Super Bowls. So I'll take Jim Nance gladly as my number 2 here in the third round. And to pair him, so I've got a booth with Joe Buck and JJ Watt, and now I've got a booth with Jim Nance and Tom Brady as my 4th round pick. So I'm going back to Tom Brady.
Ben, you are the one who has chronicled Brady's failures in the booth more than anyone at our website. How do you end up with him twice?
Because I have him as one, he goes from a 1st round pick to a 4th round pick. That's why I didn't make him my 3rd round pick. Great value there. I now have only the 2 Hall of Famers on this list. I have JJ Watt and Tom Brady. Like, there's a lot I can do at upfronts. There's a lot I can do during Super Bowl week. I'm just like, I'm going all in on
the upfront draft.
Yeah, but hey, that matters. That I need to get those ad rates. I need people to take their pictures with JJ Watt on one side and Tom Brady on the other. I think Tom Brady, look, 1 of 1, yeah, kind of crazy. But I think if I can get him in the 4th round as my number 2 analyst, pairing him with Jim Nance, like, I think it's great value. I stand by this pick. So yeah, I'm going to take Tom Brady again.
I think it's a good pick. He's gotten better in year 2, and admittedly, I've only probably seen like 1 or 2 of his games so far this year, but he just seems so much more comfortable than he was last year. I mean, when you picked him last year, Ben, it was like an unmitigated disaster. He got to like manageably good by the Super Bowl, but like he's probably 50% better now than he was a year ago. So I think it's a great pick in the 4th round.
He got so lucky that the Super Bowl sucked. He got so lucky that game was awful, because otherwise we would have been on his ass. Not just us, but everybody would have been microscopically analyzing his every word, and he got to just kind of cruise a little bit. But okay, that's fine. I am glad, because I wouldn't have picked either of those people. So we are rolling here, and I will go. I kind of want to get out of the game stuff, because we're just, in the weeds on that. So I kind of want to bounce off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my studio host, and I'm going to pick Scott Van Pelt. Monday Night Countdown host, obviously Sports Center, post game on Mondays, as well as, all over the place, can host anything, can cover anything. It's convenient that he now actually is paid to cover the NFL, but frankly, I would understand a case to pick Scott Van Pelt before he even got that job and just plug him in, because he clearly is the best guy doing any sport anchoring at this point in time. So back to the studio, and I'm going with SVP. I just want to point out too, by this point last year, we're back to the Brady thing. Ben had also already selected Travis Kelce, I believe, at this point in last year's draft. So we're not to Travis yet. I don't know if he'll come off. I just wanted to just acknowledge that happened.
I've still got my wild card pick.
The strategy this year is way more advanced, I think, than we learned. We learned our lessons. We have all learned. Brendon, if I'm not mistaken, you still have a play-by-play to pick, right?
I'll let you figure that out if I do.
Yeah, I think you do, but I'm confident enough. I think I can hold off for another round. Hopefully, I'm going to go ahead.
I think you guys both. Oh no, you still have one too, Drew.
I have one play-by-play.
Okay, and Ben has both of his filled.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So my boots are filled.
It's me and you to get whatever play-by-play guy we want, but I don't think we would want the same one. So I think you're good.
Yeah, I agree. We'll see, I guess. And I think studio analyst is pretty deep. So I'm going to go ahead and pick my host as well. Rich Eisen is who I'm taking off the board. Ben does not like that pick. I love him on NFL Network. I love his coverage of the draft. I love NFL Game Day Morning. I listen to his radio show all the time throughout the week. I just think he's like a fun hang. And when I'm watching a studio show, that's kind of what I'm looking for. I don't necessarily need like in-depth breaking down plays. Like I kind of just want a fun hang. And I guess that might tip some of my other picks for my studio. But I think Rich Eisen can, he has a lot of chemistry with whoever he's on a panel with. So that's who I'm going with.
I will tell you, Drew, real quick before you get to your other one. Having Eisen we're gonna do a poll on this to see who quote unquote wins. Having Eisen on your board and not we may need a label this year because people will assume you picked him in play-by-play and he is not popular as a play-by-play guy. And I think I got screwed on that. There were so many comments last year when I picked him that were like terrible. Rich Eisen sucks. Those Saturday and Sunday morning games are awful. So beware. Don't say
yes. Yeah, no, that is an important distinction. I would not have picked him for play-by-play, even though I don't mind him in that position either. You know what? Screw it. I am going to pick my final play-by-play guy just because I'm a little scared. I'm going to pick Kevin Harlan as my second play-by-play. Brandon fist pumps.
We're good. I thought that's who you would pick, and that's not necessarily who I would pick. So great.
Interesting. I think because I'm looking at Aikman as my second analyst, the Harlan Aikman booth would be phenomenal in my opinion. Just a lot of great energy there. I think they would get along well. And Harlan is just like a fun listen anytime you're watching a game that he's calling. I don't think if we're thinking of play-by-play guys, there's few others that are as universally liked as Kevin Harlan. So I think it might be a popular pick with the fans, with the voting public. So that definitely swayed my decision a little bit there as well.
All right, so we have Mike Tirico and Chris Collinsworth for Drew. We have Harlan and Aikman for Drew. We have for Ben, Watt and Buck, and Nance and Brady. Mine so far, I have Olsen and Ian Eagle. And then I have, I have Romo, who is going to be paired with my next play-by-play guy. But I'm actually going to switch that up. I'm going to pair Greg Olsen with his current broadcast partner, which is Joe Davis. And that will be my selection right here to fill my second play-by-play slot. And Romo will go with Ian Eagle, his CBS teammate, who he does not work with, but I think they'd be good. So Joe Davis, who I am a fanboy of. I'm sure both of you know that by now, as I've fawned over him in different episodes of this podcast, but that's my pick, and it's Ben's turn.
That's a good pick. You could have just waited till the last round, though. None of us needed any. It's bad value. Bad value. I mean,
bad value.
My studio host will be my last pick. I don't think I could take her right now, but she's going to be my last pick. But
I'm making good content, Ben. Plus, I feel like we're going to probably. I feel like the other positions here are so interchangeable. It's so taste based. I'm not sure we're gonna step on each other with the studio analysts and sideline reporter and stuff, and wild card definitely not. So, but prove me wrong. Let's see if you can make me upset with who you go with.
All right. Well, I'm going to go with a studio analyst, and I could have taken it as a studio host. I could have taken him as a reporter. I'm going to take Peter Schrager. I just think he is the Travis Hunter of this draft. I mean, I literally, when I first started thinking about how I was going to take him, I thought I was going to do it as my wild card. And then I thought, well, that doesn't make any sense. Like, wow. And I think analyst gives him the most flexibility to do all those roles. So I just think, we picked him last year. I think he's only ascended in the year since at ESPN. So I will gladly take Peter Schrager. Peter Schrager is one of those names I would have been very upset if we left this draft and I didn't have. So I will gladly take Peter Schrager. And then I have another pick. Ooh, we haven't touched on reporter yet. I am going to take my reporter. I'm going to take Kaylee Hartung. I think that Thursday night, we talk so much about Amazon and the job they do on Thursday night, and yet we don't have them represented. And I think Kaylee Hartung and what she does as the in-game reporter, I've been a fan of her since she was at ESPN, has obviously gone a little more mainstream in the traditional news sense, but still has kept those ties to sports. So I'll plug in Kaylee Hartung, I guess, as my roving sideline reporter between my two star-studded booths.
All right, I like it. Okay, so I'm back, and I think I want to give that Thursday night studio some love here. So I will go with Ryan Fitzpatrick. Drew, did I steal your man?
That was my top studio analyst. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Fitz is just, obviously the former quarterback, the journeyman. He just can pull from so many experiences. He's leaned into being the mascot of that show and the goofball of that show in a fun way. Like, be able to go high and low. It just gives you a lot as kind of the anchor, not literally, of your post-game show. So there we go.
Yeah, no, he's such a fun person to watch. Thursday Night Football is probably the only pregame studio show I actually regularly watch. I don't know if it's because I work a lot of Thursday nights for the website, but they're just an enjoyable crew to hang out with. And Fitzpatrick's kind of the heart and soul of that. So great pick, Brendon. I'm going to go ahead and pick both of my studio analysts here. And I'll give Nate Burleson the honor of the first of those two picks. I picked Burleson with my second overall pick last year. He's just very versatile, polished, could slip into the host role if you needed him to. Obviously has the credentials as a former player. I don't think anyone is going to turn on a Nate Burleson program and be like, get that man off my television screen. He's just fun. Like I said, my criteria here is kind of good hang, and I think Nate Burleson's a good hang. And along
Plus,
those
if you want to
lines-
launch like a news show, you got a guy there too. You're a step ahead. You can spread your budget a little
my
bit.
morning show. Along those lines, I'm going to pick Marcus Spears, Swagoo. I think he's kind of the same type of vibe for ESPN. If I had to pick one person on Monday Night Countdown, it would probably be him. I just like love his laugh, honestly. Like when he laughs, I'm just like, I find myself laughing along with him. And I think he's one of those people that would get along with anyone on a studio. And I actually like his breakdowns a lot too. He brings a unique perspective. So that's my second pick.
He's great.
Yeah.
He was definitely somebody I was considering.
Question: how many studio analysts, whether that's like on a show or even on a popular podcast or halftime, pregame type of actual game broadcast, how many of them really like cut through and matter? That it seems like such a weird role where everybody's kind of a dime a dozen. Like who, like even if among like talking through these people, picking them, we don't even write about many of these guys regularly on our website, but they're on television a lot in big spots. And yet I would say the most well-known would probably be closer to like infamous. And that's Terry Bradshaw for the wrong reasons at this point. Although obviously he had a great career before he started to, lose his fastball. But like Marcus Spears, I agree. Like I like him, but nobody's like, did you hear what Marcus Spears said?
Right.
Well, I mean, even I'm obviously the fame whore here. Think about like how famous Michael Strahan is, and like how often do we write about Michael Strahan? Michael Strahan's on the Fox Sunday show every week, and it's just like, all right, he gives his analysis. He has a moment with Jay Glazer, like that's it. Like none of these guys really cut through, and especially it feels like on Sundays in any meaningful way. It really feels like the Sunday pregame show. Like it might be something we're writing about 15 years from now as a bygone era.
It's just the format, right? I think that's kind of what it comes down to. How can you stand out in 20 seconds? It's hard.
I think it's no coincidence that we've picked exclusively people from the Thursday Night Football show and I guess one from a Monday Night Football, because like those are the only ones that are a bit different, right? In terms of pregame.
Yeah, for sure. Plus, they do a good job at ESPN where NFL Live kind of bleeds in, and so you get a lot of those guys, which helps. Traeger too.
Right.
Okay, so I don't know what I have left. How many studio analysts we're doing two? Yeah, Drew just took both of his. Okay, so I have one of that. I have a reporter and a wild card. I think that's all I have left here. So, I'll leave the studio analyst for a moment, because I have some good options, and my wild card you guys are not gonna pick. So I'm gonna go with Tracy Wolfson as my reporter. I've just really grown to respect her a hell of a lot over the past little while. I thought she did an awesome job covering UConn's repeat championships and being really plugged in and kind of having the relationships. I know we're not doing basketball, but just and then I just think like the history of her covering, especially Allen and Mahomes for so many years, really matters in those spots where she can get great stuff from those guys with very little on her part, because she just kind of knows what to say. She knows how they're feeling. And that's the matchup of this decade in the NFL. So I'm going to go with Tracy Wolfson and count on the fact that we'll probably have some big Bills, Chiefs, or Ravens games coming up on my network, and she'll do a great job.
Yeah, that's a great point. Watching that the Cowboys docuseries that came out on Netflix over the summer, that was something that stood out, is like all those Cowboys 49ers games and how tied they were to Fox and how that was just like a part of like American society. And like, you don't necessarily feel it in the moment, but we are definitely getting that with Bills and Chiefs and CBS right now. Like this is what this era of football will be remembered for. So I think that's a great shout.
Jordan and NBC, like it's that's what this is. And Wolfson's a big part of that.
Definitely. That's a great pick. All right. I've got my back-to-back picks. I was worried here because I do think there's a chance you might take my wild card. So I'm going to save her for the next
Is
round.
it Taylor Swift?
I technically could. No, I think I'm good on fame. I don't think Tom and
Okay, yeah. I don't know. I'm just following your lead here, Ben. You tend to go that route, yeah.
No, I don't think Tom and JJ want more fame than we already have. So I'm gonna
True.
dial it back. No disrespect though to my studio analyst who I am adding, and that would be Matt Ryan. I just think he's done a great job. I think anytime, again, it is kind of that mix of on-field credentials plus in-studio analysis. I had low expectations for him as a studio analyst because I don't remember much about Matt Ryan, the person, during his playing days with the Falcons in that 1 year with the Colts. But I think he's done a great job. I think he's really helped kind of revitalize that Saturday morning studio show. And plus now I have my studio is Peter Schrager and Matt Ryan, and there's like a shared connection there with Kyle Shanahan too. I feel like they could tell some stories there. So I'm going to take Matt Ryan, and then we're getting to the wild card round. I am going to take. This is not really a broadcaster, but it's somebody who's going to add to my coverage. I'm going to take Kate Feeney, the social media phenom who ESPN hired, the TikTok star. Like a lot of people, when ESPN hired her, it's like, okay, what's going on here? They're hiring a social media influencer. She's totally infiltrated my algorithm. And like, I get it. I get what this content is for. I can't really describe it. I can't really explain it. But it's not like quote unquote influencer content. I mean, there's definitely an influencer element to it, but I get it. And I feel like I need to reach out to that younger generation. So as the young guys on this panel, what do you guys think of my selection of Kate Feeney as my wild card?
I thought you might just have Brady clone himself and have a younger version pop out, and then you could just have Brady.
Hologram Brady.
That's the other value in getting Brady.
True, you might get two of them. Yeah. Feeney's good. I have literally not seen any of her content even since she got to ESPN. My Snapchat app tries to tell me to watch her stuff all the time, and I don't, because on Snapchat she still just does her personal content. So it's like a day in the life IRL type stuff, which I just don't really care. But I mean, look, ESPN's paying her, so you're not too off base there.
Yeah, I have not seen a single from her. So
gotta get your algorithms right, guys.
I know.
Sorry, you're just you're a company man for ESPN, and you're just trying to put it out there. I get it. Okay, I have one studio analyst and one wild card left. I'll keep my wild card in my back pocket because I don't think anyone is going to take them. I'm gonna do another repeat, and I'm gonna go Booger McFarland. I just think he's awesome. I think he does, whether it's PTI, whether it's college football Saturday studio, whether it's hits he still does on the NFL. I think he in another world he would have stuck on Monday nights. I understand it didn't work out because they built him some stupid contraption and he pissed everybody off, but I think he just still like lives and breathes this stuff in a way that's crazy for somebody who's been doing it as long as he has. So and he does NFL primetime, right? So he technically has a role here on NFL that I can latch onto. So Booger.
All right, my final two picks. Bit of a homer pick for the reporter slot. I'm going to go Mike Florio. I think if we think of like reporters, insiders in general, like I just think he has the most interesting things to say out of all of them. He's willing to ruffle some feathers with the NFL, provide some good segments to the studio. So I think Mike Florio is a good addition to any kind of pregame show. In my opinion, he's the highlight of Football Night in America. And then my wild card, I had issues thinking of a wild card. I kind of wanted to go with, maybe someone with like gambling focus, but I just couldn't think of anyone that was like good on TV
well, if you need help lobbying, Big Cat's got you, I think, Drew. You could pick him.
Right.
You need help with your legal division or anything.
Yeah, geez. So I decided to go away from that, and I'm going with someone who's objectively good at TV, and that is Steve Kornacki. He is just so fun. That's great. When NBC brings him on for playoff scenarios and he's doing the big board, Like, I mean, maybe it's because I'm a bit of an election nerd too. Like, so just watching Kornacki do his thing is very enjoyable for me. But to me, I just think like he's kind of the perfect wild card spot. He kind of encapsulates the energy, the aura we're going for in that position. So,
Drew, do you have an application pending for like a PA job at NBC Sports? What's going on right now?
How many? Oh, I guess Florio is an NBC guy too. Yeah, I guess I got 4 NBC guys on my roster here.
All right.
I mean,
right.
hey, it was only like a month ago where I kind of ripped FNIA a new one.
That's what I was just gonna say.
Website,
We're making it up to them by showing
right.
that hey, we do like you a little bit here too. All right. Very respectable picks. I like them. My wild card I'm going to close with is Aqib Talib. He's back. He is on Gilbert Arenas' NFL show, The Arena. And I thought Aqib Talib was fantastic when he was doing games once upon a time. Had some, we'll call them off-field issues that got in the way of his career. But he is back in the media, and I just think if he can, pave himself a road back to an actual game broadcast, I want that. I'll be the one to give that opportunity to him. And he's just such a change of pace from everything else going on in an NFL broadcast booth. So I'm willing to, maybe he's a third. Maybe he could be. Greg Olsen would put an arm around him. I think, we could do a third there. We could have him in the studio. He could just dip in. Maybe he does a podcast for us. I don't know, but
I like it.
That's my guy.
Yeah.
Good value. I'm trying to put together our teams here so we can analyze them real quick. I'm going to wrap this up though with my final pick. I would have taken her earlier. If you could have said like, you have to take your studio host first, this is who I would have taken. I'm going to take Laura Rutledge. She's my favorite studio host. And I think what she does at NFL Live, I also think like when we look back at 2025, the stories obviously in January always get lost. What she did as a reporter covering the Sugar Bowl after the shooting in New Orleans, literally New Year's Day, the Sugar Bowl college football playoff. I think it was a quarterfinal game gets delayed a day. Like that was a massive story. She had boots on the ground and was covering it as well as anybody covered any story. So I think she does serious. She does silly. I think she is, everybody points to, Mina and Marcus and Orlovsky and those people as the reason NFL Live works. I think she is the through line to all of it, as the host should be. So I am gladly taking Laura Rutledge as my studio host here.
She also does sideline now, right? For those Monday night games. So she has gotten that promotion. I mean, like you think how much we criticized ESPN for not bringing ABC reporters on for the NBA betting scandal. She got the reverse bump. She was so reliable with that story in January. She appeared on ABC News despite being like, the chick from SEC Network, like some people would say that, but she was awesome and deserved that and got the promotion for that couple of days. So yeah, you picked her even earlier last year, I think, Ben, right?
Yeah, she's one of those. Just every year we do this, I'm probably going to wind up with Laura Rutledge. So more than happy to. All right, I think I've got our teams here. So Drew's broadcast teams, he's got Mike Tirico and Chris Collinsworth, and he's got Kevin Harlan and Troy Aikman. Brendan's teams, he's got Ian Eagle and Greg Olsen, and he's got Joe Davis and Tony Romo. My teams, I've got Joe Buck and JJ Watt, and I've got Jim Nance and Tom Brady. How do we think the teams? You guys happy with your teams here?
I am. I mean, both Drew and I paired actual broadcast partners together because I actually am going to put Davis and Olsen, even though I didn't draft it in that order. And then Drew with his NBC love, so it's much more competitive this year because we weren't trying to like impress each other. We were trying to win. Right. So we didn't do the fun ones early and stuff. We actually were trying. So like that, this feels very even.
I agree that Travis Kelce wasn't taken in the second round or whatever. So
that was Jason.
Jason.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to
back to back last year. Or,
No,
or is Travis further down?
I think I knew Travis wasn't going to go, so I gave him some space. But yeah, my first 3 picks last year were Tom Brady, Jason Kelce, and Ryan Clark. Neither Jason Kelce nor Ryan Clark were taken this year. So
Yeah,
and I got mocked for taking Tom Brady in the 4th round. So if that shows you anything,
what do we think of that? I mean, Ryan Clark's fall from grace is well documented, but no Jason Kelce. He did not live up to the high hopes that I think we had in terms of he does a good job. I don't think anyone's trying to bash him, but it wasn't like the man we've all been waiting for, like maybe some people had hoped.
Yeah, I mean, I probably should have debated taking him over maybe my wild card or my second studio analyst, but like I think he suffers from the expectations being so high, and I think it would be tough to argue that like he's done anything to really match those expectations. So it wouldn't, if we do this again next year, or when we do this again next year, it wouldn't shock me like if he was picked at all, even toward the top of the draft.
Yeah, the late night show was a bomb, so that didn't help it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you watched it, it was a bomb, and I don't know anybody who watched it. Real quick, our studio teams or our studio analysts here. Let's see. Drew's got Rich Eisen, Nate Burleson, and Marcus Spears. Brendan has Scott Van Pelt, Ryan Fitzpatrick, and Booger McFarland. I've got Laura Rutledge, Peter Schrager, and Matt Ryan. I love mine.
I love mine.
I love mine too. I kind of think Brendan might have the edge, although I know Booger's probably a bit controversial for some people. But
same kind of thing. People think I'm going to be picking him as like a game analyst, and they're going to remember Monday Night Football. It's like
I love the Ryan Fitzpatrick pick, though.
Yeah, that was a great pick. Yeah, I that was fun. I'm not going to go through our reporters and our wild cards. We already talked about those individually, but biggest. I mean, real quick before we get out of here, no Herb Street, no Al Michaels, no Kirk Burkhart or Kevin Burkhart, who is the number 1 analyst for Fox, or number 1 play-by-play man for Fox. Like, this is that's interesting to me.
I just think those guys, especially Burkhart, is he's just there. He's good, but a bit milquetoast. He's overshadowed by Brady in the booth. I don't know. He's almost like AI generated lead play-by-play announcer.
It's kind of how I feel about Herb Street as an NFL guy for game analyst. It's like, I think he's actually better than most people would think, because I think there's still just kind of the shock of him doing NFL games. I think he's totally serviceable, and I do learn from him, and he does a good job keeping the game going and playing off of Al and everything else. But I also never walk away from a game thinking like, damn, Kirk really made a point on that one, or he was on top of that. It's just sort of, all right, watch the game.
Did you guys have anyone left on your boards that you wanted to pick but didn't get a chance to?
I mean, I debated some of the Fox guys in the studio, just in terms of like if I can get Michael Strahan, I'll get Michael Strahan. If I can get, I mean, that was probably the biggest one. There obviously wasn't anybody from the NBC studio I was dying to get on my team. There wasn't really anybody left.
My the one that I would shout out, just something about this particular NFL season in media that I wanted to highlight, but it didn't end up going that way for my wild card. Adam Shine on the game updates this year for CBS is fantastic. I think his voice is iconic, and I really like it. So that would
he's
be
he's a little too quirky for me during those game updates. Yeah, I've actually
it feels like old, like Chris Berman or like that type of thing, where it's just so like, I don't know if I would like him to like do play-by-play on the Super Bowl or something, but I like it in the little spurts like that.
Yeah, no, it's definitely something. Better than having freaking JJ Watt or Matt Ryan do them. So
yeah, exactly.
That's fair.
No insiders either. The closest insiders we got were Peter Schrager and Mike Florio. No Adam Schefter, no Ian Rappaport, no.
I had Rappaport on
Jordan
my list,
Schultz,
especially now that he's on Amazon doing his thing over there. I thought he did a good job. He's done a good job with some of the heavier stuff that they've had to cover, like the Marshawn Nealon thing. His hit on that I thought was pretty solid. it was a ton of information, very sensitive. I thought he did a good job, but like, we're not trying to cover serious news here. We're trying to entertain the masses, especially Ben. He wants to roll out the red carpet for every game. So,
yep. Well, I've got some upfronts to prepare for. It's never too soon to start thinking about photo ops. So that's going to do it for this week's episode of the Play-by-Play. If you enjoyed the show, subscribe, leave a rating, leave a review, tell a friend. We'll be back with you next week, breaking down all the latest in sports media.